If you've been using the words empath and highly sensitive person interchangeably, you're not wrong exactly, but they're not quite the same thing. And knowing the difference can actually change how you approach your own healing and energy management. Let me break it down. I identified as a highly sensitive person before I knew the difference between the two. And when I learned what they both were, I thought, oh, well, that's kind of the same thing. And there is significant overlap, but the more I worked with clients and understood my own experience, the clearer the distinction became. I am actually both, and understanding what each label was, what it was pointing to, helped me address different aspects of my experience differently. So, an empath is someone who doesn't just understand or sympathize with other people's emotions. They actually feel them as their own. And this happens at an energetic level. Your field picks up the emotional and sometimes physical state of other people and registers it in your own system. And this isn't metaphorical. Empaths describe walking into a room and immediately knowing how everyone in it feels. Getting off the phone with someone who is stressed and suddenly feeling stressed themselves. Being in proximity to someone in physical pain and feeling those sensations in their own body. The empath experience is fundamentally about energetic absorption. You're taking in information through your field, not just through your 5 physical senses. A highly sensitive person, which is a term coined by psychologist Dr. Elaine Aron, is someone whose nervous system processes sensory and emotional information more deeply and thoroughly than most people. About 15 to 20% of the population have this trait. Highly sensitive people feel more. They notice more. They're more affected by their environment. Light, sound, texture, emotional tone, subtle social dynamics. They need more processing time after stimulating experiences. They think and feel more deeply. But an HSP's sensitivity is primarily sensory and cognitive. They process more deeply. Where an empath's sensitivity is primarily energetic, they absorb directly from other people's fields. Here is the main distinction. HSPs process sensory input more deeply. Empaths absorb other people's energy directly. An HSP might be deeply affected by a movie because they process the emotional content more thoroughly than most people. And an empath might feel the grief of the person sitting next to them in the movie theater. HSPs tend to be more affected by their physical environment, like noise, crowds, bright lights. And empaths tend to be more affected by the emotional atmosphere of a space, regardless of the physical conditions. HSPs often struggle with overstimulation. Empaths often struggle with knowing what's theirs versus what belongs to someone else. So here's how to tell which one you are. There's a few questions to help you sort all of this out. Do you absorb other people's emotions as if they're your own? Not just feel empathy for them, but actually feel what they're feeling in your body? If your answer is yes, an empath is likely part of your picture. Are you deeply affected by physical sensory input? Loud environments, bright lights, strong smells, scratchy fabrics, in a way that most people around you don't seem to be? If yes to that, likely being a highly sensitive person is part of your picture. Many people tend to be both. The empath label points to the energetic absorption piece. The HSP label points to the sensory processing piece. They're different facets of the same sensitivity spectrum. So why does this distinction even matter? Because the tools are slightly different. Energy hygiene practices, learning to identify and release what energy you've absorbed, are specifically important for empaths. Sensory regulation strategies, managing environmental input, building in processing time, reducing overstimulation, are specifically important for HSPs. And if you're both, you need both sets of tools. Understanding which aspects of your experience come from which source helps you address them more specifically. And specificity is what actually changes things. So, if you're just starting to understand your own sensitivity, whether that's being an empath or an HSP or both, I have a free guide that walks you through 33 signs that you might be an empath in a spiritual awakening. It's a good starting point for understanding what's actually happening within your experience. I'll put a link in the description for you. If you found this video useful, please subscribe and you will see more coming up. If you know someone who needs to hear this, please share. There's a lot more where this came from. All right, thank you so much for listening. I appreciate every one of you, and I'll see you in the next video.